Hassan Aslem is opening up for the day. He's a grocer living in Arabe, a small town in the Galilee region of northern Israel. Mr. Asleh is 52, an Israeli citizen, but an Arab in a state built for Jews. This contradiction has shaped his life.
To be Arabs in Israel, like to be refugees in your country. I feel lost. Nothing tied in around me. I feel lonely. I feel angry.
The town is essentially Arab with a few Jewish neighbors. Its inhabitants, part of Israel's Arab minority, who today number more than 1 in 6 of the country's population. They're kin to Palestinians of the West Bank and Gaza, but separate. A people who clung on here when the Jewish state was born back in 1948. It was a time of war. Most indigenous Arabs fled. Many were ethnically cleansed. A Palestinian Arab minority, though, stayed put, stuck it out, and became Israeli, an identity many have begun to question. Not least Hassan Asleh, a thoughtful individual, a protagonist in his day of interactive dialogue with the Jewish majority, but now in real despair, and not just because Israel has always treated his people as second-class citizens.
I agree, since 48, that Jews will be part of this country. But they till now refuse to accept us as citizens here in our land.
The tragedy of Hassan Asleh's life has been the death of his son Azil, aged 17. Azil was shot dead by Israeli police last October. Another mockery of fate for Azil, a bright lad who spoke Arabic, Hebrew and English fluently, believed in the need to bridge the gap between Israel's Jews and Arabs. He was a young Muslim with Christian and Jewish friends, a computer freak and an active member of Seeds for Peace, an American group campaigning for peace between nations. He'd twice been to their summer camps in the United States. Azil's mother rolled up at the shop with fresh coffee for her husband. She too has been shattered by the loss of her son and the circumstances of his death. They're a talented family. Jamili Asleh is a school teacher. Her eldest daughter, Nardine, studies medicine in Jerusalem. They see Azil as a martyr, but grieve for him as a family.
أصيل بالنسبة لي هو برمز لكل شيء حلو بالحياة، لكل شيء إنساني، لكل المفاهيم والقيم اللي موجودة، أحلى شيء كل العالم بيحلم فيه. وبقتل أصيل انقتل كل شيء حلو بحياته وبحياة بتصور الناس اللي بيحلموا بهاي الأشياء. كل شيء حلو أصيل كان يرمز إلي.
A short walk away from the town, overshadowed by Arabe's sewage farm and rubbish tip, distinctly unsalubrious, is the olive grove where Azil Asleh was killed. His father and sister took me to see it. Azil died on October the 2nd, a Monday. Israeli Arabs had taken to the streets, a rare event indeed, demonstrating and rioting in areas where they lived in sympathy with the Palestinian uprising in the West Bank and Gaza, provoked by the visit 4 days earlier of Israel's General Sharon to Jerusalem's Al-Aqsa Mosque. Israeli police shot dead 12 of them, not with rubber bullets as here, but with live ammunition. A unique event. This was Israel, not the West Bank. Such lethal crowd control was usually reserved for the occupied territories. Azil Asleh was among the victims. He wasn't even demonstrating, just observing, as was his way.
It's not easy to visit this place. For me, to live the incident again from the beginning. To see soldiers attacking your son and shooting him for no reason, just for being Arab.
They may have looked like soldiers and acted like soldiers, but they were police. One of them shot Azil in the neck at close quarters, almost execution style. 10 months on, he is still unidentified, the policeman who killed this young Israeli citizen.
It's very difficult for me to imagine and to walk Azil's last steps when he was running down to the olive grove and to the place that he was shot. I got there the second day after he was shot, and I collected the rocks with his blood, and those were the only evidence of him being shot there.
At Azil's old school, we found some of the lads at play. All in all, the school looked pretty scruffy. Nadine recalled with some resentment its overlarge classes, its Jewish-oriented curriculum, and the chronic lack of funding, symbolic of nationwide discrimination against a community denied basic rights in education, housing, employment, and land ownership. How Israeli, I wondered, did she feel herself to be?
Less and less with time. Less and less with time. When I was young and I was innocent, and they asked me, where are you from? I used to say, Israel. But then I grew up, and I got to know that Israel is just borders that are set around the place that I live in. I don't feel Israeli in any way, especially after my brother was killed. How can I feel belonging to a country that killed my brother?
Sitting in Jerusalem at Israel's Supreme Court, a three-man tribunal, the Or Commission, is investigating the October killings, whose effect on Israeli Arabs has been profound. Police have given evidence, changed their stories, even been found to have lied, whilst relatives of the dead watched from behind a glass screen. Police witnesses, too, have testified to using live ammunition as well as rubber bullets against demonstrators, something they would never have done in a Jewish riot. Ori Nir, who is himself Jewish, reports the Or Commission for his daily newspaper, Haaretz. Unhappily for him, he has lost faith in its proceedings.
I'm somewhat disillusioned. Both me and them, my editors, thought that this will be an extremely important exercise in Israeli democracy, in Israeli citizenhood, in Israeli justice, and in the makeup of Israeli society, and in sort of mending the fences and healing the wounds within the society. I don't see this happening now.
Nobody now, least of all the Azli family, believes that the policeman who shot Azil is going to be indicted. There was no autopsy, no proper investigation. The Or Commission has serious limitations. From the very beginning, Israel's Arab minority has posed a challenge to the Jewish state, not in physical or military form, a challenge rather to its honesty, decency, and sense of fair play. And the sad truth is that all have been lacking where Israel's Arabs are concerned. They have been subjected to long-standing and deep-seated discrimination. The lid of their frustrations finally blew off last October. Israel's Arabs erupted. The Or Commission, which meets here, is examining that record. Whether its eventual findings will succeed in improving the lot of Israel's Arabs in the long run is very much an open question. And if they fail, there are dangers, real dangers, lurking round the corner. Azmi Bishara is an Arab MK, a member of the Knesset, Israel's parliament, who's been berated by Jewish right-wingers as a fifth columnist for calling on Arabs to resist the Sharon government. His criticisms of the state are blunt.
It plans for Jews, it builds for Jews, it's supposed to absorb Jews and to look for the welfare and security of the Jews. The Arabs in Israel are either, in the best case, tolerated guests or untolerated guests.
So what's the future?
Concerning the future in the short run, I'm very pessimistic. What I see in Israel, what I witness, is a spread of a political culture of apartheid. probably Israel constitutionally is not an apartheid state. I mean, the Arabs can vote. But it's a separation system in every single dimension of life.
Danny Nave is a minister without portfolio working in General Sharon's office. When a young border policewoman was shot in the face recently whilst patrolling the West Bank, he called to comfort her, just part of his job as he sees it. But what of those other shootings, the shootings back in October that killed Azil and 11 other Israeli Arabs?
The most important thing here is really to try to understand the atmosphere that were at that time, and it was the beginning of the Palestinian violence and terrorism uprising in September. And we found ourselves in a situation that there are Israeli Arabs that are taking part in those kind of incidents and violent demonstrations. And the police force, people were not in easy case and were not in easy position at that time. So sometimes it's very hard to judge the policeman on the spot and the way he behaves when he feels that he is under threat and maybe a threat to his life.
What do you see longer term when you look at the future?
I believe it depends mainly on the direction that their leadership will take them, because we had many cases, many negative cases recently of representatives of the Arabs in Israel that really crossed the line in respect to things that they have done in support of Hezbollah or Hamas or other enemies of the state of Israel.
Back in Arabe, Nardine Asli and her family have turned Azil's bedroom into a shrine. All his possessions are there.
These are all his things. This is his best perfume. I got him this one for his last birthday. He was begging me for it for about a year. This is his school bag, which is, it still has the same books that were there the day he died.
Nadine then packed her bag for a trip to Ramallah in the West Bank to visit some of her brother's peace-oriented Palestinian friends to discuss his death with them. And she herself feels the Palestinian bond growing apace.
For the first time, we totally feel on the same side. We are Palestinians in 100%. It's not that they doubted it for a second, but this time there's something that unites us. We have a martyr in our house, and the Palestinian nation is almost all of it are martyrs. So this time we have some kind of a connection, a unite, a blood thing between us.
Israel's Arabs are undergoing a crisis of identity, a crisis accelerated by the events of Black October. They remain citizens of Israel, but lack faith in its institutions. Radicalization of their young would bode ill for the future. Long term, countries can pay dearly for ill treatment of minorities. Just think of the Basques or of Northern Ireland.
In October 2000, thousands of Palestinian Arab citizens of Israel took to the streets to demonstrate their solidarity with Palestinians living in the occupied territories. Many also expressed their frustration with Israel's ongoing discrimination against non-Jewish citizens of the state. In an unprecedented show of force, crowds were dispersed using live ammunition, rubber-coated steel bullets, and tear gas. 13 unarmed Palestinian Arab citizens of Israel were killed, and more than 1,000 were injured. Roughly 1,000 people were arrested. Police testimonies presented to the Commission of Inquiry investigating these events reveal that snipers were deployed in Arab towns and villages and were authorized by senior police officers to use live ammunition. Palestinian Arab citizens of Israel account for 1 in 5 of the population of the country. Together they form a community legally distinct from Palestinians in the West Bank and Gaza Strip. This video examines the numerous discriminatory policies and practices that confront this minority of 1 million people.